Giorgio Tsoukalos is the man with the wild hair from that should have been canceled a long time ago TV show from the so-called History Channel, Ancient Aliens. That comes from a place of love. He's the man that so many of us grew up watching, influencing the way we thought about the world, and many with never even knowing his name. If you can't quite put your finger on which one he is, Giorgio Tsoukalos, which I guess I'm mispronouncing, Tsoukalos, Sleekalos, like, I don't know how to say it right. Maybe that'll be the scene for that video. He's the one that pops up about midway through every episode when things are beginning to become a little more otherworldly or harder to believe. Many have called him the History Channel's meme machine, and it's a name he stands by and is proud of. Maybe it's the edit, or maybe it's him saying things out of context, but it sure seems like he is a believer, and not just a believer in ancient aliens, but a believer in everything to do with the subject.
Can compare modern achievements with stories from our ancient past. And so if today we're able to create a two-headed dog with 6 legs, is it possible that a similar creature existed thousands of years ago? And I say yes.
And see, when he said that, he was talking about genetic modification and how nowadays we can genetically modify animals and species of plants. And perhaps in our distant past, we had similar technology, or that we are products of similar technology. And I think he means it more as a mind experiment or a thought experiment than actual fact. But the way the show cuts it up or whatever, I mean, he's the producer of it, right? But there's no real way to tell if he means that, like, he actually believes that for sure, or if he's just speculating and thinking, you know, it's a possibility and no one really knows. Watching the show, it's hard to tell. The show itself, Ancient Aliens, and much of what Giorgio has said on it has faced much scrutiny over the years by ancient civilization experts, documentarians, and many YouTubers, including a great one called Ancient Aliens Debunked, pushing aside inconvenient facts that may point out that maybe humans did X, Y, or Z and weren't helped by X, Y, or Z.
History Channel series Ancient Aliens, currently in its 15th season. Pseudo-archaeology is racist and xenophobic. It influences our culture in real ways. It involves making wild and unproven claims about the human past.
Not to say that I don't believe in ancient aliens. I just think it's important to build our information from many perspectives, especially from experts in the field, people that have visited an area or have done a lot of research. My personal opinion is I think the show is a lot of fun, and I think it's important to keep an open mind about pretty much everything.
In the Old Testament, we can read stories where the gods saw the earth women and thought they were extremely beautiful, and so they made babies with them, and upon giving birth.
And you have to think that Enkidu is some kind of Bigfoot.
But I do wish that they would let us make up our own mind by giving us more information and not putting aside facts that don't paint the narrative that they're trying to paint. But in this video, I am not trying to debunk Giorgio or Ancient Aliens. I think much smarter and more well-researched people than me have already done that. I'm more trying to figure out who the guy is, where does this guy come from, and how did he get into the position that he's in now, and where is his heart at? Is he just trying to make money, or is he trying to get people to think for themselves? Is he a con man, or is he just trying to inspire people to have free thought and unlock the human potential? So let's look at Giorgio's life, his personal life, his career, his rise to the top, his fame, and try to figure out who this guy is, where did he come from, and most importantly, at least to me, what his motivations are. Giorgio Tsoukalos was Giorgio Tsoukalos, which I guess I'm mispronouncing, Tsoukalos, Sleekalos. Giorgio Tsoukalos was born 1978, March 14th, as a Pisces. if you believe in that sort of thing. In Lawrence, Switzerland, his father was from Greece and his mother was from Austria. Meanwhile, his grandfather was living in Boston, New York. His parents were avid travelers, and they took Giorgio with them to explore ancient monuments all across Europe. He traveled all over, spending time with his grandfather in Boston and going everywhere with his parents. It's hard to say for sure, but I would say he probably comes from a pretty well-off family. He grew up in Luxembourg, Switzerland, and spent the summers in the Greek islands. Giorgio's grandmother, a devout Catholic, introduced him to alternative history, as she did not want to read the same old boring bedtime stories every night. So she started reading him books such as The Lost City of Atlantis, and in some accounts that I found, ancient Sumerian texts, and even Erich von Däniken's book, Chariot of the Gods.
My grandmother would sometimes read passages out of your work, and I was 5, 6, 7 years old. I didn't know what was going on, but she planted the seed.
I suppose if his life was a movie, this would be foreshadowing, along with a few UFO sightings and extraterrestrials to get his mind ticking as the young actor turned to the old. And I would totally watch that movie. That'd be some good cinema. His experience with his grandmother and being an 80s kid led to him thinking about UFOs and playing with Star Wars toys. He was also a big fan of Star Wars and other sci-fi movies, along with Indiana Jones and other movies and media at the time. As he got older, he would build many cool sci-fi models and read books to fulfill his extraordinary interests. I picture it with the most likely building his models while taking breaks to lift weights while watching his favorite bodybuilders on TV, as he had been a huge fan of the sport since he was a kid. Gaining interest in the sport of bodybuilding when the IFBB athletes visited his high school in Switzerland. It was like the greatest day of my life. I saw all the athletes that I admired in the pages of the bodybuilding magazines, right there on the stage, only 10 yards away. I don't mean anything by the voices, it's just coming out that way. I'm sorry. I love Giorgio. Keep watching. Like and subscribe. Because of his love for the sport, after graduating from his high school, Institute Montana in the Swiss countryside, he would move to the United States to pursue his bachelor's degree in sports information from Ithaca College in Ithaca, New York, graduating in 1992. And he was pumped, pursuing his love for bodybuilding. However, early on he realized he just couldn't get big enough to get where he wanted to be, and he realized he liked being behind the scenes anyways. I was interested in bodybuilding as a sport, but I realized early on that my passion lied more in promoting and working with the athletes rather than competing myself. I wanted to contribute to the industry and the sport in a different way. He loved the sport so much that he worked as a volunteer at many events for many years, slowly working his way up the ranks until he became one of the main promoters. During his early career, Giorgio made a mark in the bodybuilding world. From 1992 to 1995, he worked as a promoter, organizing several competitions, along with athlete management. Then in 1998, Giorgio Tsoukalos discovered that Dr. Gene Phillips, the head of the American Ancient Astronaut Society, wanted to retire and stop publishing the society's magazine, the legendary Times. The organization had been active since the mid-70s, with Erich von Däniken establishing a branch in German-speaking countries. This is when Giorgio first met Erich. At first, there was much resistance from both Phillips and Erich von Däniken. Can you imagine reaching out to one of your childhood heroes to ask or try to convince them to let you continue the work that they've started, and then facing resistance at first? I guess everything worth doing is hard and must be fought for. Giorgio lobbied and worked with the community for over a year and a half. Eventually, he was given the chance, going on to elevate the organization to new heights. While Erich would go ahead and change his outlook on the situation and support Giorgio, Phillips remained resistant and said to be resentful over Giorgio's success. Both Erich and then Giorgio were heavily influenced by a man named Zachary Sitchin, who was one of the first in modern day to bring ancient astronaut theories to the masses and make a living off of it. He helped translate a lot of ancient texts and Sumerian texts and tablets and wrote it all down in a book and sold it. Some might argue, and I'm making the analogy here, of kind of creating a centipede of alternative histories for ancient astronaut theorists to theorize about. With, in my opinion, Giorgio Tsoukalos at the helm, with the support of Erich von Däniken and the larger community, and both outspoken authors, researchers, and just general supporters. Now, with all the promoting and marketing skills Giorgio had obtained in his lifetime, with the right timing, with the message of Ancient Aliens and the book Chariot of the Gods, and the overarching message of what I would think to be thinking outside the box and exploring other ideas that might not be on the most traveled path.
You know, talking about aliens or other solar systems or actually other galaxies out there, astronomers have suggested that there are more galaxies in the entire universe than there are grains of sand on all the beaches in the world. Now think about that for a moment. It just, that's, you know.
The ideas grew, more books were sold, and the world was more and more on board with alternative ways of thinking. So when Kevin Burns, a popular television and film producer known for producing documentaries and shows related to history, science, and pop culture, had the idea for a show based on Erich von Däniken's book Chariot of the Gods, both Erich and Giorgio were more than ready.
Actually, very easy. Tomorrow morning you can try it. Next to your bathroom sink, there is an electric socket. I would recommend about 2.5, 3 seconds.
Kevin would co-create the show with Prometheus Entertainment, where he served as executive producer. The show was first to air as a 2-hour documentary in 2009, and due to the popularity of that special, it expanded into a whole series. And the rest is just sort of history. It just kept on going. Now, when I set up making this project, I had and I still do have the intent of good faith, meaning that I want to believe that Giorgio is someone that wants to do good in the world and is a true believer in what he says. Now, when it comes to what he says, in the vast majority of cases throughout the years, I would say that he stays pretty consistent. And I would even give him a little bit of leeway as he is a person on planet Earth and people grow and expand their ideas as life goes on. He believes something to the effect that extraterrestrial beings visited ancient Earth and have a significant role in shaping human history, culture, and civilization. And that extraterrestrials may have played a much more critical role in human evolution and the building of society than we ever possibly could have imagined, either through direct genetic manipulation or at least first-hand contact with our ancient human ancestors. And that many ancient structures and artifacts were possibly created with technologies that were far beyond the people of the time, or the supposed time. One thing that he never said was that extraterrestrials built the pyramids, or any other ancient structure, only that they were probably around, and possibly that the ancient people were inspired by these extraterrestrials, and possibly told to make these, or the extraterrestrials had something to do with it on the exterior, but humans were the ones that did it. The problem is the show, right next to after he talks, somebody will say something to the effect that ancient aliens built whatever structure. He expresses skepticism to any mainstream scientific evidence that completely dismisses the possibility of ancient astronauts and contact with human beings. Now, these all seem like a lot of wild claims. In a lot of ways, they are. But when you look at exactly what he means to say, it's actually all pretty broad. Maybe to have his own back, but also to leave room for speculation and growth. What I do find misleading, though, and perhaps even harmful, is the way that Ancient Aliens is put together, especially for the uneducated, young, and for lack of a better word, what I think the show, at least in later seasons, is targeted for, the plain people that aren't willing to research, we'll say. For many of the guests, especially the ones that have academics in their history, maybe they just didn't know how the edit was going to go and they needed a paycheck. Of course, the show has been around for years. But for Giorgio, I mean, he has been there since the beginning and is an executive producer and knows exactly how the show is put together and probably what makes it sell as well. So when you see him getting upset on stage at an interviewee that is asking him if he really believes that aliens built the pyramids.
Aliens built the pyramids. That's the one, right?
That's 100% incorrect.
No, that's not it.
No, because the aliens did not build the pyramids.
All right, what they did.
There's a difference between the meme
All right.
and what I say.
Of course.
And I have never said that the aliens built the pyramids.
No, I know that. But
What
people
I
say
have-
that, right?
So
Yeah.
They use my image for that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So the truth of the matter is, and this is why we're doing this, we're watching, so you can hear it from the horse's mouth, that what I have said is that the pyramids in Egypt and other megalithic structures around the world were all built and made by human beings, our ancestors, with their sweat and blood, with the assistance of the extraterrestrials, because in the ancient records, that's what our ancestors are telling us.
He's like, I never said that. It's just a meme. I mean, how can you get mad? Of course people are going to think crazy things like that when you have a show that makes it sound like that. I mean, you got shows that are saying that aliens made Bigfoot and aliens, you know, a new Christopher Columbus, or, I mean, I've seen some wild ones. We all have. I feel like the first few seasons of Ancient Aliens were great, and maybe they should have continued to put out specials. But there's so many of them, and they try to continually push this narrative in the edit. I mean, it's maybe a show that's just gone on for too long. Giorgio would meet his significant other, Crix Beale, a self-employed artist running a workshop called Crix Beale's Creations, which she established in 2006. They got engaged in November 7th, 2012, and married on March 10th, 2013, although I have seen some contradicting information on those exact dates. The show, as you most likely know, was very successful and continues to this day, taking Giorgio all over the world, where he explores all sorts of ancient structures, civilizations, meeting with researchers, scientists, and other ancient astronaut authors and theorists. From 2016 to 2018, A&E Networks co-produced several installments of AlienCon. After its cancellation, there was 3 years of pause. Then it was picked up again and has returned, starting again in 2022. It is now ongoing as far as I can tell. So who is Giorgio Tsoukalos then? Is he good? Is he bad? I think the truth is much more nuanced than that. The internet and media, and probably people in general, want to put a label on something or somebody as if they're a thing. But the truth is that you can't really know somebody unless you really know them, and then sometimes not even them. The only person that truly knows who Giorgio Tsoukalos is him and the people that are close to him, like his wife and his family and close friends and people that are behind the scenes. I certainly don't think that he is a scammer. I think that he is a true believer in the ancient astronaut theory and have pushed that theory to the forefront, making it bigger and more expansive than ever before. I think he encourages people to think for themselves and not take history or really any subject at face value, which is something that I personally commend, as that's pretty much my overarching goal when talking on these videos or even just having conversations with friends. Is it's good to learn a lot of information from a lot of different sources, but in the end, taking all that information and leaving it up to yourself to decide the answers. Even when deciding those answers, I think it's good to leave yourself room to change those answers as time goes on. I personally think, after reading all that I've read, I think Giorgio is the real deal. I don't think that he would have committed his life the way that he has and being as smart as he is without being the real deal, in the sense that he's a real believer. He's a real advocate for all these theories, both aliens in the modern day and ancient astronaut theory. Now, do I think that he believes everything about everything? I don't know. I guess you would have to ask him that. But I think that he is a player of thoughts, and he likes to dive down rabbit holes, as I do, and I commend it. I look up to him. I think he's great. I think he's great. If you if you enjoyed the video, please remember to like. This is YouTube. You got to play the game of YouTube. And if you like this strange quest that I'm on and want to see more from me and more stories like this, more theories thrown at the camera, then hit that subscribe, and I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you in the next live.